All right, well, we closed 2016 and we opened the new year here at Quality Digest by spending some time talking about certain emerging social, political, and economic issues and how they might affect the pursuit of quality and performance excellence in the future, particularly for organizations here in the United States. We actually, on the last episode of Quality Digest Live, a week before Christmas, you remember, Dirk, I kind of threw some questions at you that you weren't prepared for. We're going to kind of throw that back at you later in the show. But, so we touched on some of these topics and others that are related to it. And your opinions when we did that piece here on QDL helped me when I wrote the article, Ask and Ye Shall Perceive, which ran in yesterday's issue of Quality Digest. And I've already had some comments on that. I hope more of you will comment on that article. Well, one of the questions I posed in that article involved issues of trade, specifically how and if we can reward companies that keep factories here or punish those that flee. And when I say we, I mean the United States society, government, those that represent us. Well, accordingly, major U.S. manufacturers have been very much in the news lately, wrestling with the implications of that question. The QD article, Ford announces U.S. plan expansion to make electric vehicles and autonomous cars, which ran in Wednesday's issue of Quality Digest, offers some timely, I think really timely insights into how the incoming Trump administration is going to influence those very decisions. As reported in the article in a live webcast earlier this week from the company's Flat Rock assembly plant in Michigan, Ford President and CEO Mark Fields made an interesting statement. I want to read it for you verbatim as it was quoted in the article. I think it's really interesting to listen and read what he said. I'm going to comment on it here in a moment. What Fields said is, we are encouraged, we are encouraged by the pro-growth policies that President-elect Trump and the new Congress have indicated they will pursue. We believe that these tax and regulatory reforms are critically important to boost U.S. competitiveness and drive resurgence in American manufacturing and high-tech innovation. All these factors, coupled with segmentation shifts that we're seeing in the marketplace and our efforts to fully utilize the capacity at existing facilities, have prompted us to invest in Flat Rock's expansion and to cancel building a new plant in Mexico.
That was the stick. That was the carrot.
That was the carrot.
That was the carrot.
There's sticks and carrots in there. That was the carrot. And that was Mark Fields, President and CEO of Ford. Now, this is a $700 million commitment for Ford, and it will mean several hundred jobs, new jobs for workers in Michigan. President-elect Trump had tangled with Ford in general and Fields in particular during the recent presidential campaign, alternatively offering those carrots and using some sticks as well to drive just this kind of result that we're seeing right there. That we're seeing there in Flat Rock. Now, this reads as a feel-good event for all parties, not the least of which is the incoming administration, of course. It's made a lot of political hay over this and other events like this in the last couple of months. But there's a lot in Fields' statement beyond the relatively straightforward happy news about jobs coming to Michigan instead of Mexico. And then let's think about this. Let's unpack a little bit what he's saying here and what maybe it means. Well, he's encouraged by pro-business, pro-growth chatter in the new administration. Well, duh. I mean, Ford's a big company, right? They're a very, very large publicly traded company, market value at several multiple of billions of dollars. So that all sounds good to them. He's also looking forward to tax and regulatory reform. Well, double duh, right? I mean, again, big company, tax breaks, regulatory reforms, things that make it easier, less complicated for large organizations to do business. Sounds good to him. He sees the market segmentation shifting towards autonomous vehicles and electric cars, which is interesting, of course, that we've all seen that. But the question is, will they see a shift back? Are we already seeing a shift back if climate change and an oil drilling bonanza kind of drops gas prices even lower? What I meant to say there is I kind of bollocks that. If climate change is continually chipped away at, the idea of climate change as a scientific reality is less prevalent in regulatory affairs. And if people say, well, there is no climate change and we don't have to worry about it so much, instead we're going to drill, America's going to be energy independent now, is that going to force or make Fields and Ford and other auto manufacturers take a step away from the progress towards autonomous vehicles and electric vehicles because they say, hey, gas is cheap. I mean, gas prices are $1.50 a gallon all across the country. Do we even care? Let's just crank out a bunch more F-150s, right? I mean,
keeping in mind that gas is subsidized, but besides
that's true. But I mean, it's still for the pocketbook of the consumer, gas could be a lot cheaper. Probably will be. Another thing that was interesting here is he's not quote, not advocating for increased manufacturing capacity, at least not yet. They're simply utilizing capacity that already exists at Flat Rock. So this is being spun as something that on the surface is not totally accurate. The capacity is already there. They're not building a new factory in Flat Rock. They're not, they're basically just using the capacity that's already there to be more efficient for an investment.
And adding more employees to it.
They are adding more employees. Okay. Yes, they are adding hundreds of more employees. Now, of course, Trump hasn't even been inaugurated yet, but we've already seen his looming presence at play with decisions like this. I mean, Carrier's decision to keep some jobs in Indiana a couple months ago, and of course a fat tax break from the state of Indiana helped there. Trump has also threatened General Motors with huge tariffs if they try to bring Mexican-built Chevrolet Cruzes into the States. And the company responded that the units that nameplate is being built in Mexico are for foreign markets only. So there was a little bit of back and forth there. And that USO Cruiser being made in Lordstown, Ohio.
Actually, the majority of the 190,000 Cruises are made in
Georgetown. But interestingly, though, GM announced...
Lordstown.
I'm sorry. GM announced, though, that some job cuts are happening in Lordstown, in the Lordstown plant, as well as others across the country. Now, Toyota, too. There's been threats now that Toyota Corollas made in Mexico are going to be tariffed heavily if they try to bring them over the country.
Yeah, the one thing that's interesting about that is the Toyota, the Toyota cars that are going to be built, or some of the Toyota cars that are going to be built in Mexico, weren't taken from the United States. It was taken from, they were built in Canada.
Oh, well, there's NAFTA at work for you, right? I mean, no, but I mean, this is exactly what's going on. I mean, the question is, and really it'll be for discussion, we'll discuss this later, but I mean, is this tactic of the administration, this tactic of rewarding or punishing those for keeping jobs in the U.S., I mean, is that going to be effective? Is there going to emerge some rules around this, or is it going to happen on a case-by-case, a company-by-company basis? I mean, is it feasible? Is it feasible? Is it desirable? Is it possible for the administration to go company by company and look at each individual move from companies that are either in the U.S. or want to come to the U.S. or thinking about coming to the U.S. and offering some sort of incentives on a state-by-state basis maybe to have them keep their jobs here? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how feasible that is. You're talking about hundreds or maybe thousands of companies over the next several years that are going to contemplate moving production facilities. Can the administration go in every time and make these offers?
We'll get to that.